TYT. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. I am your host, Cenk. We got a brilliant show for you today, really brilliant. Of course, first hour is politics. Second hour, Casper will join me here live in New York City. We'll have more fun trying to figure out if there are or are not more planets in our solar system. We're not going back to that, so just calm down, okay? But we do have Justin Bieber on the show, and he is talking politics, among other fun things. All right, so let's get started. First, win. All of a sudden, we got a win in the United States House of Representatives. Out of nowhere, with a Republican-controlled House. President Obama has agreed with, are you ready for this? A lot of the Tea Party Republicans to get the F-35 jet's second spare engine killed. Now, that was a program that cost $450 million this year and about $3.5 billion over the next several years. And here's what the Pentagon said about it. We don't want it. We didn't want it before. We don't want it now. We're not interested. Don't give it to us. We're not going to use it. But nonetheless, it was a really close vote. Now, look, that's the kind of thing that makes people go, what is going on with our politicians? Why is that a close vote? If the Pentagon says, I don't need this plane's engine, I already have another engine, this would be the second engine. It was a waste of $3.5 billion. Why would anybody vote in favor of that engine? Well, it's because of several things. But the main thing, as you might guess, is the money, Lebowski. So, first of all, the defense contractors pour in a tremendous amount of money to all these congressmen and senators trying to convince them, I wonder how they convince them, to vote for programs like this, even if the Pentagon doesn't want it. And then second of all, there are, different areas of the country where they are building these things. So GE, which is the main producer of this particular engine, has a factory in Ohio, pretty close to John Boehner's district. So boom, John Boehner, definitely in favor of the useless project. Eric Cantor, second guy in charge of the Republicans in the House, his district has a Rolls-Royce plant that also helps to produce the same engine. He's in favor of it. So the two leading Republicans who claim they're against wasteful spending and just cut the budget to the bone in their proposals that haven't passed yet, right? And they're cutting food safety. They're cutting, just about everything you could imagine. Airplane safety. But when it comes to wasting $3.5 billion, they're on board. They're like, oh, no. Oh, no, that's my district. I like pork in my district. And by the way, I can also get a little, unofficial kickback from that called campaign contributions. So what was the final vote? We had 110 Republicans and 123 Democrats getting together to win 233 to 198 to kill this proposal. So, hey, look, that's real bipartisanship, man. Those are some solid right-wing Tea Party freshman Republican congressmen coming in voting in favor of killing that program. You had some solid Democrats in favor of killing it. And, of course, what's the final line on the Republicans? 55% of the party that claims that they want to cut wasteful spending voted in favor of a program that is inescapably wasteful. No one with a straight face could make an argument that it wasn't wasteful spending for something that wasn't even going to get used and something that our Defense Department said, please do not give us. So, but luckily they lost today, and the good guys and real bipartisanship and President Obama all won. So, and most importantly, we won because that's, I keep reminding you guys this because it's so important. It's our money. Like the Republicans always say that, they don't mean it. Really, they're taking that out of our taxes to just throw it in the garbage. So today we won because we got to keep $3.5 billion more of our money. And think about it this way, right? There's a little over 300 million people in the country. $3.5 billion, well, that's a little over $10 from every single man, woman, and child in the country. So my family of three would have had to give over $30, to GE and Rolls-Royce to build an engine no one needed. So that's $30 in my pocket. I love this vote today. So, hey, victory! Feeling good. Oh, by the way, we're chock full of good news today. You guys remember Craig Scarberry? We did the story on him. He's the agnostic dad which a court ruled could not have custody of his kids as much as he used to. He used to have 50-50 custody, and they cut it down to 4 hours a week. because he was agnostic. Well, he came on our program on MSNBC and got a lot of media attention, wound up getting the ACLU to represent him. Today, Craig Scarberry, agnostic dad, for the win. There has been a motion to stay that original decision. Now, what does that mean? That means the case is not over yet. They still have to go and they still have to get a decision. But it's an excellent sign because of two things. One, the judge says, hey, you know what? You are likely to win this appeal. And that is why I'm staying the motion. And number two, you get to see your kids right away. Go back to 50-50 custody. So, and you know what? He wrote us an email. And I had him on the MSNBC show today because he wrote us the email saying, thank you, guys. That really, really helped. TYT Army is too strong. Too strong. We're building wells across the world. You got people being able to drink water, clean water for the next 20 years. And then you got an agnostic dad who fought for his rights and with a little bit of help wound up getting to see his kids 50-50 again. Too strong. Too strong. Okay. Look, one more thing on that. Look, there's so many days when the news is depressing and the politicians are bought and we're fighting uphill and it happens all the time. But you cannot get discouraged. We can do this, man. These are small victories, right? But it goes to show you it can be done, right? And eventually we can build small victories into mid-sized victories, and eventually we can build them, I think, and I believe in, swear to you in my heart of hearts, into major victories. Victories where we actually clean up our democracy, clean up our elections, and get our representatives to actually represent us. That's the ultimate goal. So hang in there. Let's keep working towards that. Let's keep building towards that. But today was a good day. All right. Now, interesting story out of Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was convicted, of course, of stealing money. He was running a Ponzi scheme, basically. I've told you this many times. Of course, what he was most guilty of is robbing rich people. Very, very foolish of him. Of course, you're going to get busted for that. Got a lot of powerful people that are pissed at you. When you rob from the American taxpayer, nobody cares. So now, to that point, I had Matt Taibbi on the MSNBC show, 6 o'clock Eastern. You better check it out every day. And it's an action-packed show, man. I have to be honest with you. I kind of liked today's show. I thought it was really good. Now, Taibbi was awesome, and we'll put that up somewhere. Now, look, and I'm going to keep it real with you. If you're just watching on theyoungturks.com or you're watching on YouTube, what we're doing is we're putting out one clip on our main channel and one clip on the interviews channel that's obviously interviews related. Now, that's a tiny percentage of the show, but we want to show you what's going on. And, we want to share things like the Taibbi interview with you because I thought it was so great. But, it gives you a little bit of a sense of the show. But check out the whole show. Of course, our ratings do matter. And you know what? Along those lines, I want to show you something right now. Look, I've been telling you why it's important to do the show on MSNBC. And look, we're doing the Young Turks out of a radio studio. Anna comes in here for the second hour, and we're busting our ass to try to make it look good, or as good as it can inside a radio room, and doing 2 shows at once, etc. So why are we doing that? It's not for the audience. You guys are larger. I've said this many times. Our audience online is about, just on YouTube alone, let alone our website, everything else, is about 750,000 to 800,000 people a day. When I do the show on MSNBC, my audience is anywhere between 600,000 to 700,000 a day, right? So the online audience, the Young Turks, is larger. So why bust my ass in here doing 2 shows, doing this, doing that, trying to get it right for you guys? Well, it's because of this picture. Hey, Susan, I want you to put up that we have. This is a picture of President Obama in the Oval Office. This is when his advisors and him were looking at the developing news in Egypt. And you got the 4 box there. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I see it all the time because I've worked in radio stations, television stations, etc. And almost every single one of them has this. It's a TV with 4 different screens. The 3 screens on there are the same for everybody. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. The 4th screen sometimes is CNBC, sometimes is a different channel. But those 3 are immovable, right? Now, the reason I'm showing you this picture is because look at what President Obama is doing and where that TV screen is. He's leaning on his own desk inside the Oval Office. That TV is right next to the president, and it is on very often, okay? And certainly everyone inside the White House, the press secretary, etc., has that TV screen on all the time. So we reach a bigger audience online, but we can't get inside the Oval Office unless you're on one of the cable stations. Now, look, that sucks. It's, and it shouldn't be that way. They're old school. They haven't caught on to new media, and, they don't get it in a lot of ways. But if you want to have influence, and we want real change, and we want to make sure that they don't cut Social Security, we want to make sure that they do real health care reform, real financial reform, real change in the country, it helps to be inside that room. I mean, you've got the president's attention to some degree inside the Oval Office. That's why we're working hard here to make sure it works. And that's why I tell you guys every once in a while, getting good ratings makes a big, big difference, because that means that's the longer that you could stay in that 4 box inside the president's office right next to him, and perhaps, just perhaps, make a little bit of difference and point the country in a slightly better direction. So that's why we do it. MSNBC, 6 o'clock. If you can watch, I think every little bit helps. And I really appreciate it, guys. We can't do anything without you. You don't get good numbers, you don't stay on TV, and you can't influence the people making the decisions. That's how it works. So that's why we're trying so hard. All right, so now back to Madoff. So we had Taibbi on. He had a great piece about the banks and the bankers that are criminals that have run these criminal frauds, and why they haven't been punished. Well, but the Madoff thing is relevant to that, right? So he came out in an interview today and said, quote, the banks had to know about his own fraud, but the attitude was sort of, if you're doing something wrong, we don't want to know. And, man, that nails it. They knew all this stuff was wrong. You think they didn't know? Look, let me give you a Jamie Dimon quote that I loved. He recently said this on Fareed Zakaria's show, I believe. He said, this is a direct quote. No, I'm sorry, this was in his testimony to the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, right? He was on Zakaria's show recently, but he said this to the commission. He said, and if you don't know, Jamie Dimon is the head of J.P. Morgan, one of the largest banks. He's the banker that everybody says, oh, he's so good. No, he's not like the other bankers. And on Zakaria's show, he said, oh, I hate it when people say banker or bank. We're all different, and I did such a good job. My ass you did. Now, you weren't as catastrophic as the other banks in the amount of toxic mortgages you had, but you still had terrible track record. Like when they asked them during the commission, hey, how come you didn't see this housing market collapse coming? Why didn't you prepare? This was his answer, quote, in mortgage underwriting, somehow we just missed, that home prices don't go up forever. Pause for a second. You're the CEO of one of the largest banks in the world, and you didn't know, and you just missed that housing prices don't go up forever? I mean, you tell me, is this guy colossally stupid? Or is this like the funniest put on ever? He's like, watch. I'll go to Congress and I'll be like, oh, sometimes markets go up and they go down? A housing market can go up but then go down? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, come on, dude. That's unreal. And then he continues. So he says, again, let me do the whole quote for you. In mortgage underwriting, somehow we just missed, that home prices don't go up forever and that it's not sufficient to have stated income. You know what that means? Those were the liar loans where Bob would walk off the street and be like, hey, I'm going to buy that $400,000 house. Oh, what's your income? I will state it at $250,000 a year. And they're like, okay, good enough. Here's your house. You're a banker and you don't know that you can't just take somebody's word for it, that you need documentation? How stupid do these people think we are? But yet none of them ever got punished. And that's what Matt Taibbi's piece on Rolling Stone was. And he explained why they don't get punished. And if you didn't see it, let me just explain it to you real quick here. It's because of the revolving door. Almost everybody who's in charge of punishing these guys is looking for $1 million payout by going to a law firm to represent these guys. And Matt lays it out beautifully in Rolling Stone. He shows there was this one SEC regulator who came in and said, well, John Mack he's the head of Morgan Stanley. He seems that he did this insider trading and made $10 million off of it. Let's investigate it. And his bosses are like, hey, Gary, let's be cool, okay? Be cool now, guy. And they didn't let him investigate. He said, but why? What? The evidence is right there. Why? The two bosses that didn't let him investigate, one of them later wound up working for Morgan Stanley. Another one for another Wall Street firm. Gee, I wonder why they didn't want to investigate the head of Morgan Stanley. Do you see? Look, when I talk about change and how we need change, that's the change we need. Because the people in power, whether it's the politicians and the congressmen or it's the regulators, they're all can't wait to leave politics to cash in and make money off of the people that they're supposed to be regulating or that they're supposed to be watching over or writing laws about. It's bought, the whole thing. Now, for step one, point out the corruption. And that's what we try to do every day. That's what Matt did in his piece. Let me give you one funny quote from it. If I can find it. He went and talked to a Senate insider. This is the disaster part of the show where I lose track of where I am. Let me see if I can find the quote for you. Yeah, here we go. He says, this is a Senate investigator insider talking to Matt Taibbi off the record in Rolling Stone. He said, everything's fucked up and nobody goes to jail. That's your whole story right there. Everything is messed up. They know it, but they never go after any of the big guys. And as Matt said on the program today, listen, man, you're a sucker if you're stealing little things. You know, you steal $5 thing here, $10 thing here, you're going to wind up in jail for 10 years, okay? You steal 10 million or 100 million or maybe even $1 billion, scot-free. By the way, once you steal the money, you just turn around, use the money to buy the politicians and the regulators. Easiest game in the world. Actually, knowing that, it's surprising more people aren't in it. We've got to fix our system. All right, come right back, Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. I'm going to randomly thank members in the second segment. I'm crazy like that. I'm going to thank member number 1, Robert Freeman. I always think about Robert Freeman. I've said that before.
That's a little scary.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's so cool to be member number 1. I don't know, that he's been with us for all this time. You know, he's in New York, or he must be close to New York, because remember when Adam Green went and taped the Goldman Sachs protest out here in New York, and Robert was there.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe we should have coffee with him one day.
We should. I think he would definitely enjoy it. I'd enjoy it, too.
No, I'm not sure he would definitely enjoy it, but I mean, you would presume.
I would hope so if he's member number 1 and you're always thinking about him.
Okay, like, this is getting creepier by the minute. Anyway, and let's go with Colonel Rafi Vartanian.
Get it, Colonel.
All right. Quick fun story for you guys. Do you know that Anna Kasparian has never gone through a revolving door before?
All right. Calm down. Because, look.
Never. That's crazy.
But they're unnecessary. Why do you need to have revolving doors in Los Angeles? No, okay, so I learned why revolving doors exist. It's to keep during the winter, to keep the warm air in. During the summer, to keep the cold air in, right? The building. In Los Angeles, the weather is always perfect, so you don't need such a contraption.
Such a contraption.
Right?
She was scared and confused by it. She's like one of those, like, villagers or something, like, sees an escalator. They're like, what is escalator? Like that Will Ferrell in Elf. Right? That's Anna. She got into the same thing as I did. And I'm like, what is this? Okay. She's been flummoxed by it for like 3 straight days. She's like, what is the need for this thing? What do you call this thing?
No. Okay, first of all, I've seen revolving doors in movies and stuff. And I'm sure I've gone through one at some point in my life. But, like, it's not something that you see every day. In Los Angeles, you don't ever see revolving doors, right? Unless it's just for looks. Like, an apartment wants to look fancy. Like, oh, you fancy, huh? So, no. But Cenk is totally right. Like, the very first time I went through one with him, I followed him in, like, one of the little slots. He's like, what are you doing?
No, but that's okay. Like, that was her first time. I didn't know. Like, so she's like, the elevator takes you up the building. That is amazing. You have invented amazing things in this country, right? Okay, I get it. So she doesn't understand, right? Day 3, she's still like, she's like fighting the revolving door. Like,
this is why. I'm going to explain why. Because everyone goes through the revolving door at a different speed. Some people go fast, like they zoom right through it like you do. You like break through that revolving door, okay?
That's how I do.
Some people are softer. They push it slowly and steadily, right? But you never know what you're going to get. So you got to be careful.
She's elf. She's elf. She just came from the North Pole. She's like, when do I go? Do I go now? Okay, I'm going to go now. And it's like the simplest thing in the world, too. It's not like it's like some fancy contraption.
Okay.
All right. Disaster.
All right, next story. A British judge on Tuesday decided that she needs more evidence to determine whether or not a parent can make the decision to have her mentally disabled daughter sterilized.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is an interesting story because a woman in England, she's identified as Mrs. P. We don't know anything else about her. Has a daughter who has a severe learning disability. She has already given birth to one child, and she's pregnant with her second child, the mentally disabled daughter. And she, according to the mother, does not have the ability to take care of the children. So all of a sudden, the mother is stuck taking care of the children, right? And she says, "Look, I don't have the money to take care of more children. If she continues to have kids, all of a sudden the government's going to have to take care of them, and I don't know if you guys want that, right?" So she goes to court, and she wants to get permission to have her daughter sterilized. And, you know, at this point, she does not have the permission, but I thought that it was an interesting question. Do you think that a parent should make that decision for their mentally disabled child?
Look, that is such a tough question. I'm not sure where to come out on that.
Yeah, same
This might
here.
be the first time in Young Turks history where I don't have a strong opinion. Look, on the one hand, you know, if anybody else is doing it, you say, oh, hell no. I mean, you don't get to make that decision for her. On the other hand, if she truly is disabled and it's her mom, well, then, you know, then I think it's a slightly different question, you know, because, okay, then if she doesn't even know what she's doing and she's having sex and getting impregnated, how many times? Maybe she'll do it 17 times. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, because she doesn't know. So, first of all, I know this much. You would have to be extraordinarily careful. Like 17 judges and doctors would have to sign off on it, in my opinion, for that to happen. You see what I'm saying? I can't just have the mother pushing a button and sterilizing. She had a learning disability. She was reading a little slow. Boom, sterilized. No.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable. And I agree with you. I'm having a difficult time coming up with a strong opinion on this as well. But I just feel like whenever there is someone who is considered a menace to society, and I'm not saying that she's considered a menace to society, but when it comes to people who are addicted to drugs, or people who have been convicted of sexual molestation, or people who have mental disabilities, there's always someone who says, we got to sterilize them. Yeah. How many times have we done these stories? It's like, I'm sure that there's a better solution than to just go ahead and sterilize them. I mean,
and look, they don't even belong in that category, obviously, right?
Right.
And so you feel even worse for them that somebody's suggesting they go in that category. But this isn't some random person.
Exactly.
You know? So,
yeah.
So, you know, look, JR has common sense. I'm curious as to what his take on this is. JR, Justice Jackson, I'd like to reach out to you in L.A. to help us solve this case.
I had a feeling you guys were going to do this to me. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, no, it's not that simple. Yeah. I think in that circumstance, of course, you go over the situation. You don't just take a mother's word for it that she can do this and that she's actually taking care of these kids. She can maybe just say, I don't think my daughter takes care of these kids well enough and I have to help so much, we should sterilize it. That's wrong. But I think there really needs to be a real assessment of what's happening, how it's working out. If the mother is doing all this, if the mother is in a dire need and is going to end up taking care of 5 kids that she doesn't have the money or resources to do, and then the kids are going to get taken away anyway. And now these kids are wards of the state, and then it becomes a disaster, and these kids' lives are already negatively affected. And, of course, they can still have a decent life. But for kids who aren't here yet, I don't know. I mean, talk to them all.
Yeah.
You really have to see the situation. But, I've said it before. I don't think it's the end of the world if someone can't have kids anymore, because there's a lot of people who just naturally can't have kids, and they continue to live. They're okay.
Right. You know what? I've come to a decision with the help of Justice Jackson. I'm going to need 2 doctors and a judge, and that's it. I'll sign off on it. The doctors have to say she really is incapacitated. She cannot make that decision on her own in any, reasonable way. And then a judge has to make sure that that's absolutely the case. And then I would give the mother the permission to do that.
Another interesting aspect of the story to bring up is if she really doesn't have the ability to take care of a child on her own, and she doesn't have the ability to make decisions on her own, it's also questionable for her to even ever get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you see what I'm saying? If she...
Like, who's having sex with her?
Exactly.
Like, can she really give consent?
Exactly,
right.
Yes.
So, but look, that's another question for another legal case, I suppose, right, if that's brought. And maybe the mom, thinks, look, she enjoys sex. I don't want to take that away from her. But at the same time, I can't have her having these kids. That's why you need the doctors and the judges. You can't just leave it up to the mom. But I think otherwise she's going to have 28 kids. So, no, that's it. Official decision. Pound the gavel.
Yeah.
Are you with me? Can you join me, Justice Kasparian?
I can join you. It has to have a ton of review, like you mentioned. A lot of people examining the case, making sure, like, dotting their I's, crossing their T's, making sure that they know what they're doing. Because, look, I take it a little more seriously. I know some people think, like, not having the ability to give birth isn't that big of a deal. To me, I think that's a huge deal. I don't even know if I ever want to have kids, but for me, it's a huge deal, right? So I think that it's a big deal, and it should definitely be reviewed as much as possible.
It was a tough decision. It was a tough case, and tough cases sometimes make bad law. But the TYT Supreme Court worked together. We achieved bipartisan compromise here, and in the end, we were unanimous. Yeah. And I think in a case of this importance, it was important that we were unanimous so the country is not confused.
I think they're probably a little confused.
Oh, really? Still a little confused? Okay. Oh, well, we tried.
All right, let's go to the next story. This is probably one of my favorite stories of the day. So an Australian anchor, her name is Belinda Hagen, mocked her co-anchor, his name is Mark Aston, during their 10 News at 5. So it's a show in Australia. I don't want to give too much away, so let's watch the video.
And England skipper Andrew Strauss arrived in London, proudly showing off the little urn. They'll spend 4 days at home before flying out for the World Cup. And Belinda, I just can't understand how something so small can be so impressive.
Well, Mark, you would know about that. Thank you very much.
And England skipper...
All right.
Disaster! What was that about?
No, but the thing is, how we, like, mock each other once in a while, but we laugh. Like, we know that it's in, good nature, not a big deal. She's completely, like, she says it very seriously, and she looks back at the camera like, well, you would know a thing or two about that.
Man.
Damn, what's going on?
Melinda is harsh, man. She comes strong at you. You better watch your back. But, the flip side is, it was also half a compliment.
Yeah, because something so small could be so impressive.
Think about it.
How do you know, Melinda?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Melinda apparently got to take a little taste of a little action of that, itty-bitty thing. I don't know what's going on, but somebody was having fun, and then perhaps they stopped having fun.
She had a little slippy slip. Yeah, she accidentally disclosed some information. No, but I always wonder about anchors and what their personal relationship is, because I was watching that movie Morning Glory, right? And the two anchors in the movie despise one another. And, once the cameras start rolling, they're like, like they love each other. They pretend like they love each other. So I always wonder about that with other anchors and local anchors, network anchors, all of them.
I know a lot of anchors, local news anchors, not, national guys, but that do local news through other people, et cetera, right? Friends of friends. And they're a wild bunch, man. All right, number one, yeah, of course, a lot of them hate each other. Hate. Because, think about it. You find out, oh my God, she's making $350,000, you're only making $200,000. What the hell? Right? And you huge egos to begin with. They're insecure because they're on camera. They're being judged all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So you got all that drums, right? And then they're constantly sleeping with one another. Okay, seriously? I'm keeping it real. Okay, I'm not naming names or anything. Constant. You see somebody on camera, they've had crazy sex with at least the weatherman and the sports guy.
No.
Okay.
Come on.
Of course not all of them. Of course not. But the chances are pretty high, okay? So there's a lot of drums going on behind the scenes. And, but in the end, though, this guy can't feel happy about it.
No.
He's like, like if you told a guy, like, you're really impressive in bed, even though you're small. I don't think any guy's saying that as a compliment. Like, oh, hey, they're not walking away thinking, oh, pretty impressive. They're thinking away, what?
What if you tell a guy you're really good in bed, even though you're average?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay? Average isn't bad.
Oh, it's getting worse. Yeah, that's questionable. But maybe you might be able to survive that.
Not every girl wants a massive rocket.
No, I know. I understand that. Having said that, this would be a better compliment. You know, you really suck in bed, but goddamn, you're gigantic. Okay.
Guys are so funny. When it comes to their penises, they're very insecure. Like they must have a massive one, or
I guess some other guys are.
oh, please. All right.
All right.
All right, let's talk about haunted houses. There's a haunted mansion in Los Angeles. It sits on top of a hill. It's great.
Go.
No, honestly, I love this story, okay? So the LA Times wrote about this famous mansion in Los Angeles. It's in the Hollywood Hills. And right now it's on the market for $15 million. $15 million, that's crazy. And it's
you know, can I just jump in here for a second? There's a house in LA, and I know where it is. It's the Spelling house. You know, Aaron Spelling's old house. He passed away. Tori Spelling's parents' house. $150 million.
No, but that's crazy.
No, I know. First of all, they're not going to get it. Nobody's that rich anymore.
Right.
Well, that's not true. There's a lot of people that rich, but that's crazy price for a house. And,
yeah, that's stupid.
Right. So $15 million. That's like a bargain.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because the house was originally bought in 2004 for $3.7 million. And the housing market in 2004 was a lot better, especially in Los Angeles. So, but the original owners were commissioned to build the house. And before the house was done, they divorced. So, boom, the house is automatically on the market. They sell it again to a couple of business partners, right? The business partners go bankrupt. And
one of them does.
One of them goes bankrupt. And the one who doesn't go bankrupt basically buys the house in full. And it basically ends up becoming music executive Tom Devine's house. All
right. So now here's where it gets interesting, right? So, look, first of all, they're not going to get $15 million for it. $3.7 million. Since 2004, house prices went tremendously up in LA, but then obviously they leveled off, right? But no, they didn't go up to $15 million for $3.7 million. Right. But who cares? Here's the interesting part of the story. So it's been sitting vacant because of all this drama for so long, right? And people decided, hey, you know what? Fuck it, we're going to go into the house.
Yeah, gang members would go into the house.
Armenian
crack dealers.
Okay.
You don't know if they're Armenian.
Yeah, you schnork. You didn't read that part?
It didn't say Armenian.
Yes.
Calm down.
The gang is the Armenian power.
Oh, that's awesome.
She went from like gangs have entered the house to that's awesome. Armenian power.
That's funny because I missed that part of the article.
How did you miss that? That's part of the reason I sent it to you. Anyway. So several things have happened. Armenian power is like, yeah, that's interesting. Why don't we just take this house? Okay. And they tagged it with their gang sign or whatever, right? And then they just started doing business out of there. And then, so the guy had to hire a security guard to come chase him out of there. Like, yeah, right? So then they board up the house, and then kids come in and they're like, let's have a raven here.
I know.
I love those kids. I love them. I think that takes balls.
That sounds a lot of fun.
And can you imagine this gorgeous, huge house? You can see the ocean from it, if you know LA at all, and you can see the Hollywood sign. That means it sees everything, right? It's sitting right on top of the hill. It's gigantic. And they have this awesome frickin' raven there. I mean, I don't know. It could have been a shitty rave, but, right?
No such thing.
No such thing, right? And they're playing techno music.
I know.
How pissed are you missed it?
Very pissed.
Okay, anyway, that's the primary reason I liked it, because of the initiative of these people. They're like, you know what? This is time to bend the rules. Because they're like, what's going to happen if they get caught? They're not going to go to prison.
Right.
You know, it's a little trespassing, but it's a slap on the wrist. It's nothing, right? Trespassing, one of my favorite crimes, by the way.
Isn't it also considered breaking and entering?
Sure, but there's nothing in the house. They're not really going to get punished. There's no way that people would waste their time trying to put them in prison for that. It takes an unfortunate turn. I mean, the Armenian power is already a little bit of an unfortunate turn, but when they start dealing crack out of the house.
Yeah.
So then that's when the owner's like, end of this. Okay. Hires a security guard 24 hours a day to sit there and chase people out of there.
Yeah.
There's no crack in here. Get out of here. There's no crack or techno music in here.
What's really interesting about this house is, and the reason why I love this story is because I see this house every single time I go hiking in Runyon Canyon.
Oh, really? You see it? Oh,
you see it. So every time I hiking Runyon Canyon for me is inspirational because it makes me think to myself, God damn it, I got to work harder because I want this house.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's massive.
That particular house.
Yeah, you see it.
Oh, that's hilarious. It turns out all you had to do was walk in.
I know. That's
Total
that's
fail.
why I love the story because
Right.
I was like, oh, why do I need to work hard?
Yeah. Look, but that's been my policy for so long, right?
Right.
Like, areas that I love, like I think Manhattan Beach is beautiful in LA, but I don't have to own a house in Manhattan Beach. I just go there on a weekend. I enjoy the view. I have a lovely breakfast, and I rob the good people of Manhattan Beach. I got Manhattan Beach for free. And that's part of why I love this story.
Right.
They got this gorgeous house for free for at least a night of fun or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You see that?
Yeah.
And who thought I was going to come out in favor of Armenian power?
Yeah, no one.
I hope they come out in favor of us and not against us.
I know.
Okay, let's be cool. All right, listen, we got to take a break. What's the matter with you?
All right,
We're
let's
almost
take
done
a
with
break.
the show. Okay.
When we come back, okay, this is my favorite story of the day. I've had a lot of favorites today. I had a solid rundown. But when we come back, we are going to talk about work spouses and how they are unacceptable. I will not tolerate.
Work spouses are awesome.
All right, we'll be back.